pleasant morning to all our science and mathematics teachers from all over the Philippines, my colleagues at the Science Education Institute, and to our resource person for today. We are very happy to host once again the 12th webinar series of Project STAR, or Science Teacher Academy for the Regions, a teaching and learning community. STAR is a pool of capacity building activities aimed to enhance the teaching and learning of science. Its main activities are STEM teacher trainings. But aside from teacher training, we also do research. We have a recognition program called Brightest Star. And we also have, we hold conferences. We also have a website called estar.ph, which you may access very soon. Aside from the FB page, this is where we post information about STEM and latest activities of STAR. You know, before the pandemic, we regularly conduct face-to-face STEM trainings in the regions. But with the current situation, we have to resort to online seminars such as this. But we are very happy to note that through the webinars, we are able to reach more teachers. So today, we welcome you again to this webinar entitled Education 4.0 and Transformative Pedagogy in eLearning. At the end of the webinar, we will be able to find out what is Education 4.0, what is Transformative Pedagogy in eLearning, and how we would marry those concepts. We hope you find value in this webinar as you prepare for the school opening in October for those in the basic education. I know also that you'll be able to apply the knowledge gained in this activity in your work as a teacher as we face this COVID-19 challenge. So we expect your active participation. You may ask questions or even share your thoughts later. So at the end of the webinar, we have a few assessment questions for you to answer. So stick it out until the end. We request your full attention. So I will not keep this long. Thank you for joining and mabuhay tayong lahat. So at this point, I would now like to introduce our resource person. So our resource person is Dr. Leia Amor Cortez, faculty member of the Philippine Normal University College of Teacher Development, Faculty of Science, Technology, and Mathematics, or FSTEM. Okay. She's presently handling courses in line with biology, science education, and graduate school subjects in the institution. Before she transferred to PNU, she was a basic education science teacher and an academic coordinator for 12 years in a prestigious private school in Las Piñas City. She graduated from the Philippine Normal University, Manila, with a degree Bachelor of Science in Biology. She went to De La Salle University for her Master of Science in Biology. Her research interest on the environment was further pursued when she finished her PhD in biology in the same university, where she did the research on environmental assessment and human health risk assessment in small-scale gold mining sites. Among her accomplishments are she served as a judge in many academic and non-academic competitions in NCR and other nearby regions. She is a frequent speaker or resource person in science content updating and science education, pedagogies, and strategies, as well as materials development. She's also a focal person for science teaching and training, as well as trainer in workshops and training in science organized by the Department of Education and the Commission of Higher Education. She's currently involved in projects of the Department of Science and Technology, Science Education Institute. She's continually upgrading herself through attendance in numerous seminars and trainings on science education, curriculum, biology, and professional advancement. She's also a researcher, curriculum unpacker, book author, editor, item writer, and developer of instructional materials focusing in the science in the K-12 in general and biology in particular. Currently, she is the director of the Campus Development Office of Philippine Normal University. And lastly, I'd like to say that she's our very own star trainer. Folks, it is my pleasure to have with us today to introduce Dr. Leia Amor S. Cortez. Ma'am Leia.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Ma'am Cynthia. So it's been a while, so medyo na-miss na natin ang isa't isa, lalo na ang mga kapwa ko star uh, members. Okay, so welcome po sa ating series ng STAR. Okay, so katulad po ng nasabi, I'm Leia Amor Cortez, so I am affiliated at Philippine Normal University. Okay, so kung ito ay normal na panahon, most likely last April pa tayo nagkita or last June. Okay, so face-to-face sa Philippine Normal University if you are coming from NCR. Kasi we usually do this. Okay, so yeah, okay. Yeah. So let me actually share this with you. This is a quote from Gunderson et al. In 2004. Okay, so sabi niya, we're currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. Okay, so totoo yan, tama po ba? Okay, so as educators, okay, so ito ang kadalasan nating ginagawa. Ito yung sinabi ni Gunderson. So we usually train our students or we teach our students, pero kung tutuusin, we really don't know the future or hindi natin alam kung saan talaga sila pupunta pagdating ng araw. Okay, so this lecture of mine, sabi ko nga, hindi na ako magtuturo or hindi ako magle-lecture tungkol sa pedagogies or strategies in teaching online. Kasi most likely, mas magagaling pa kayo kaysa sa akin. Kasi mas bata kayo kaysa sa akin. Ano? Pero, we tend to forget. Okay? So, ano ba talaga ang concept or ano ba talaga ang essence ng ating education ngayon? Okay? So, tingnan natin. Yan. So, ang topic outline, katulad na nabanggit ko kanina ni Ma'am, okay, so changes in education, what is Education 4.0, and transformative learning in e-learning. Transformative learning or transformative pedagogy is not new. Okay, so I will just reintroduce this to you later. Okay, so tingnan natin sino dito ang mga kaedad or titingnan natin kung magkakaedad ba tayong lahat. Okay, so pagka natatandaan ninyo to, you just raise hand, okay? So, or na-experience ninyo ang mga ipapakita kong picture. So, makikita ko naman kung sino ang nag-raise hand dito sa screen ko. Okay, so tingnan na natin. Do you remember this? Or kilala nyo ba ang item na ito? Okay, so pwedeng mag-unmute yung nakakakilala dito. What is this? This is a comic strip or a comics, okay, na nakukuha sa isang bubble gum. Tama po ba? Okay, so yan. So, kung sino man ang nakakakilala nito, most likely magkaedad tayo. Pareho tayong 25 years old. Okay? So, yan. So, another. How about this? Nakapaglaro ba kayo ng jackstone? Okay? So, most likely, yes. Pati yung mga bata ngayon kasi nakakapaglaro pa ng jackstone. Pero nung mga noon kasi, ang jackstone is parang umuso siya kasama ng luksong tinik, okay? At parating ito ang nilalaro ng mga bata. We do not have any gadgets way back then. Ito yung pinaka-gadgets namin. Okay? Or natin, isasama ko kayo kasi magkakaedad nga tayo, 25 years old. Okay, noong mga panahon natin, ito ang laro. Okay, so pagkatapos ng eskwela, nagkakaroon tayo ng doktor, kwak-kwak. Okay, so yan. So, isipin nyo na lang na noong mga panahon na yon, ganyan ang nilalaro ninyo. Nung pwede pa mag-holding hands, okay, at pwede pa magyakapan ang magkaka-classmate. Pero, kidding aside, most likely yung mga estudyante natin, kahit wala pang pandemic, hindi na nila masyadong nalaro itong mga laro na to. Okay? Ang susunod kong item ay ito. Kung naabutan niyo si Miss Julina Magdangal, okay, nung mga panahon na teenager siya, ito yung nauuso na ipit. Okay? So lahat halos ng mga girls noon, may mga ipit na ganyan, gumagalaw-galaw yung ano na yan, ipit na yan. Okay? So Polly Pocket, yung mga medyo rich. Okay? So ganito ang laruan. Instead na ang laruan ay paper doll. So meron silang Polly Pocket. Okay? Anong palabas to? Anyone? Meron bang nakapanood ng palabas na to? Andiyan si Tintin Bersola, oh. Okay? Ito po ay, anong tawag doon? Sineskwela ba? Sineskwela, okay? So, naabutan nyo rin siguro yan. At of course, yung una nagka-crush ako, kung ngayon maraming mga cartoons, mga anime, ito ang unang crush ko na anime, si Eugene. Okay? So, ayan. Of course, we do not have our cell phone, we do not have our iPad, we do not have our internet, but we have our brick game way back then. Tamagotchi, okay? Or the pet in the pocket. Okay? So, as well as ito. Siguro may nakaka-relate naman ito sa inyo, ano? Okay, so bakit may lapis at bakit may, anong tawag dyan, tape? This is where we record our voice, okay, our music way back then. Eh bakit may lapis? Kasi kailangan siyang i-rewind. Pag nire-rewind mo, mano-mano, gagamit ka ng lapis. Okay. So, and others. Okay, so bakit natin babalikan ng history? Or bakit ko ba ipinakita yan sa inyo? Okay? We tend to forget that history is very important, okay, in shaping the future. Pag hindi natin babalikan, okay, yung history natin, especially the history, kung paano nagkaroon ng such kind of educational system right now, medyo hindi natin mai-implement dahil ganito na ang ating sistema ng education. Okay? So, and aside from that, what actually affects or what, ano ang bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng such thing or such educational system? Okay, so ano ang nag-i-influence? What is the influence or who influences the educational system that we have? Okay, so educational system is anchored with our industrial revolution. Okay, so ilang industrial revolutions na ba ang meron tayo? Anyone? Magtatawag po ba ako or hindi? Yes? Baka ang ating Miss Grace bumanlag. Okay, so yan. Natawag tuloy kita, Miss Grace. Kailangan sumagot ka. Okay, so ilang industrial revolutions meron na tayo, Miss Grace?
Mga 5, ma'am.
Ha?
Mga 5
4 po, ma'am.
4. Okay, so 4.
4.
Oo, yan. Very good. Thank you very much. Pasensya na ha. Actually, when I teach in graduate school, nagtatawag ako. So don't worry, I have ways. Kahit kayo ay 100, matatawag ko kayo isa-isa. And you really have to answer. Or else, mga 3 o'clock tayo matatapos. Oo, ganyan kahigpit si Ma'am Cortez. Okay? Hindi. I just want you to be comfortable. Okay? So, it is just like normal schooling tayo. Okay? So, yan. Industrial revolutions, we have 4. Tama yan. Okay, so, and what is industrial revolution? Anyone? What is industrial revolution? This is actually the change in the industry. Okay, tama? Okay, yan. So, kaya nga industrial revolution. However, ito yung malakihan, okay, na influence sa buong industry at sa buong mundo. Okay, so iisa-isahin natin. And what is this industrial revolutions? Okay, so, what is this or ano ang influence nito sa ating educational system? And Ms. Cortez, bakit mo kailangan ibalik yan? Okay, so, titingnan natin, no? So, aayusin natin bakit nga ba kailangan nating maintindihan. Okay, so kung saan nanggaling ang konsepto ng ating educational system. Okay, so kailan kayo dito? 1760 hanggang 2015. Okay, so yan yung nandyan in between, naandyan ang mga industrial or IR or Industrial Revolution 1, 2, 3. Okay, kailan kayo dyan nag-grade 1? Anong Industrial Revolution kaya? Okay, so nandun ba tayo sa 1760? Okay, so it has something to do, no? So we really have to, it has something to do with the educational system. Okay, so tingnan natin. How is it different from the previous IR? So during the first Industrial Revolution, that was 1760 to 1840, okay, so ang pinaka-significant na invention during that time is the steam engine. Okay, so way back then, ma'am, naapektuhan ba ang educational system? Okay, so since wala pa ako doon, pero according to mga sa mga readings, hindi pa naman kasi masyadong nagkakaroon ng formal schooling ang mga tao. Pero meron silang mga informal schooling. Ang tinuturo sa kanila ay puro sa machines, tungkol sa machines. Mga technical ang mga tao way back then. Kung makikita nyo itong first picture, these are female, okay, doing or naghahabi sila kasi na-invent or nagkaroon na ng invention ng textile machine. Okay, so that was actually the first industrial revolution. At masyadong mahaba ang first industrial revolution. Yung educational system that time is also concentrated or they are producing students, okay, or learners na makakapag-address dito sa industrial revolution. Mga workers talaga sila, mga skilled workers sila in that sense, okay? Mga manual workers. Okay? So, comes, ayan, first industrial revolution. Yan. Okay, so eto na tayo. Comes second industrial revolution, hindi na lang mechanical ang natin, hindi na manual, I mean. Nagkaroon na ng invention ng light bulb, nagkaroon na ng electricity, at nagkaroon na ng ibang klase ng ng mga machineries. Okay? So, saan ang galing ngayon, ma'am? That is actually the input of the first industrial revolution. Kasi gusto natin advance na. So, there is a part in the first industrial revolution, in the educational system of the first industrial revolution, that they were able to produce students or people, okay, na nakapag-address or nakapag-advance, nakapag-innovate, that nag-lead sa kanila, okay, in order for them to enter the second industrial revolution. Okay, meron ng communication, telephone, meron ng ganyan. So, medyo nabago until it's 1914. Okay? So, however, pumasok na tayo sa third industrial revolution, medyo bumagal ng konti. Hindi kaagad yan nagkaroon ng pagpapalit or paglilipat kasi nagkaroon ng mga wars. Okay? So, yan. So, medyo ang inintindi muna kasi noon, hindi yung industry. It's more on dealing with the war. Okay? So, the World War. Okay, yan. Pero ito na. Okay? So, second industrial revolution, more on transportation. Okay. So, ito na yung third industrial revolution. Yan. Kasi they actually notice or yung mga tao during the second industrial revolution, sabi nila, how can we improve the communication? Okay, how can we make how can we make the industry, okay, so produce more in a short period of time. Okay, so nagkaroon na tayo ng tinatawag na digital revolution. Now, the question is, ma'am, ano ang difference ng industrial revolution sa digital revolution? Okay? Third industrial revolution sa fourth industrial revolution. Totoo ba na existing na ang fourth industrial revolution? Okay, so yan. So, tingnan natin. Okay, so the third industrial revolution, the rise of electronics. Okay, so nagkaroon na tayo ng mga automated machine. Yan. Okay, so nagkaroon na rin ng mga robots. Diyan din na-invento ang unang computer. Okay, so anong klaseng mga estudyante na ang mga produce natin that time? Okay, so during that time in the education, okay, so sinisimulan na ngayon nila yung pag-aaral tungkol sa mga data, tungkol sa mga numbers, okay, tungkol sa communication. Kaya ang kadalasan ng mga pinag-aralan way back then is engineering, okay, computers. Yan na ang mga lumabas, okay, pagdating sa education natin. Now, punta tayo sa Education 4.0. Ma'am, kailan nagsimula ang Education 4.0 or kailan magsisimula ang Education 4.0? Actually, it is already starting, but it was introduced way back 2016 pa. 2019, nagle-lecture na kami sa Education 4.0. However, ini-introduce na to, or matagal na to ini-introduce, kaya lang hindi pa kasi pinapansin, hindi pa kasi ready ang mga tao to embrace this new, okay, this new industrial revolution. Okay, so meron pang denial. Sabi ko nga, ang pandemic, hindi natin or hindi ko sasabihin na anong tawag dito, nakatulong, pero yes, okay, so napabilis ang pag-embrace natin dun sa industry or Industry 4.0 as well as napabilis ang introduction ng Education 4.0. Okay? So ano ang pagkakaiba ng industry or industrial revolution?
It was in these Swiss mountains that the...
Ano pagkakaiba ng industrial revolution, okay, sa fourth industrial revolution, sa third industrial revolution? So I have here a very short clip. I think it's 4 minutes only, okay, from BBC. So if you will notice, I have here the IR code, okay, so you may actually scan that and doon yung makikita yung pinanggalingan ng video na to or yung link ng video na to. Okay?
It was in these Swiss mountains that the world was first introduced to the phrase the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and it's been a hot topic among academics, politicians, and business leaders ever since. But what exactly does it mean? The term Fourth Industrial Revolution was coined by the founder of the World Economic Forum, a former professor named Klaus Schwab. Schwab wrote a book with that title to describe an era marked by a technological revolution that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. Let's break that down. Technologies like artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, or the Internet of Things are becoming ingrained in our day-to-day lives and even our bodies. Think of voice-activated virtual assistants, Face ID recognition, or healthcare sensors. Schwab first presented his vision of the Fourth Industrial Revolution at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting here in Davos in 2016. But to understand the idea, we need to go much further back in history, to Industrial Revolution number 1. The first Industrial Revolution started in Great Britain around 1760 and spread to Europe and North America through the early 1800s. It was powered by a major invention, the steam engine. The result? New manufacturing processes, the creation of factories, and a booming textiles industry. From the late 1800s, the Second Industrial Revolution was marked by mass production and new industries like steel, oil, and electricity. The light bulb, telephone, and internal combustion engine were a few of the major inventions of this era. The Third Industrial Revolution, sometimes known as the Digital Revolution, occurred in the second half of the 20th century. In just a few decades, we saw the invention of the semiconductor, personal computer, and the internet. So what separates the Fourth Industrial Revolution from the third? Experts say the main difference is that technology is merging more and more with humans' lives, and that technological change is happening faster than ever. Consider this. It took 75 years for 100 million users to adopt the telephone. Instagram signed up 100 million users in just 2 years, while Pokemon Go caught that amount in 1 month. 3D printing is just one example of fast-paced technology in the fourth industrial revolution. The industry has gone from a business idea to big business, with 3D printer shipments expected to increase from just under 200,000 in 2015 to 2.4 million in 2020. Today, you can have a hip replacement from a 3D printed bone or use a 3D printed bionic arm. Talk about blurring the line between humans and technology, right? This new era of technology is driving a lot of innovation. You can see in this chart the number of patents related to the fourth industrial revolution for things like 3D printing or AI has been climbing up and up since early 2000. Organizations are embracing new technologies to make their businesses more efficient, similar to how they embraced the steam engine during the first industrial revolution. But some companies and governments are struggling to keep up with the fast pace of technological change. Research shows innovators, investors, and shareholders benefit the most from innovation. The risk is that the fourth industrial revolution is making inequality, which is already a big issue, even worse. One study found billionaires have driven almost 80% of the 40 main breakthrough innovations over the last 40 years. That's a problem when the richest 1% of households already own nearly half of the world's wealth. Experts warn we are in a winner-takes-all economy, where high-skilled workers are rewarded with high pay and the rest of workers are left out. Studies confirm technologies like AI will eliminate some jobs and create demand for new skills that many workers don't have. Privacy concerns are another issue as the fourth industrial revolution turns every company into a tech company. Industries from food to retail to banking are going digital, and they're collecting a lot more data about their customers along the way. Users are starting to worry that companies know too much about their private digital lives. The World Economic Forum says a majority of leaders don't have confidence their organizations are ready for the changes associated with the fourth industrial revolution. With tech changing fast every day, it's time to catch up.
Okay, so it's time to catch up. So it seems like we can't actually, hindi na natin mapipigil to, no? So, kasi nandun na nakaset na. Yun nga lang, tama siya dun sa sinabi niya, no, na hindi equal pa kasi. Kasi tayo, since we belong to the, not the third world, but rather the developing, as one of the developing countries, okay? So, medyo hindi pa tayo nakasunod masyado doon sa Industrial 4.0. However, okay, so we really have to challenge ourselves, okay, para tayo ay makapag-produce at ng mga estudyante that can actually adapt into this Industrial Revolution 4.0. Okay? So, very important ang role ng education when it comes to this in adaptation or in adapting, okay, dito sa Industry 4.0 or Industrial 4.0. Okay? So, katulad ng sinabi ko nga po na napabilis ng pandemya, okay, yung pag-embrace natin dito. Pero sa totoo lang, way back then, okay, so I think nag-start na ng 2016, okay, so sa mga studies, and 2017, ini-introduce na sa atin, okay, so on how are we going to use the internet to communicate with other people or with the people across countries, okay, so kaya nagkakaroon na rin tayo ng meeting. However, mabagal kasi ang ating mabagal, hindi lang Pilipinas, no, pero marami, okay, so marami bansa na medyo mabagal yung pag-embrace natin sa ganitong klase ng technology. Kaya mangilan-ngilan lang na mga bansa, okay, or those countries who are advanced in technology, they are the only ones who are doing this innovation. Is that an advantage to them? Actually, hindi. Okay, so medyo bigla nahihila sila sa bagal ng pag-embrace natin or sa bagal ng pag-adapt ng buong mundo, okay, or sabihin na natin 90% okay ng countries sa buong mundo, okay? So that yung advancement dito ay nahihila niya mabagal, okay? Kaya medyo hindi pa natin nakikita yung Industrial 4.0, okay? Yan. So ito na kasi ang ano natin, no? So, sa Industry 4.0, kung titingnan natin, nandito na rin naman talaga tayo. Makikita na natin yan. So, ito ang meron daw tayo, yung autonomous robots. Mamaya may papakita ko sa inyong sample. So, imagine that India, okay, so they are actually using robots in teaching. Okay, so it's not 2020, it's years back. Okay, so big data and analytics. So how are we going, or what kind of students, okay, ang kailangan nating ma-produce para makapag-deal with the big data and analytics? It's more on math. It is more on numbers, okay? How about in augmented reality, okay? So this, sorry, may block. This additive manufacturing, the cloud, and yan. Okay, good. Cybersecurity. Okay, yan. Sorry. Tapos the industrial internet of things. Tingnan natin. Okay. So, any questions so far bago ako lumipat ng ano? So, sa Industrial Revolution 4.0, meron po bang tanong? Mag-graded recitation po ba ako? Wala naman pong tanong. Okay, so kasi kung may tanong, para hindi natin siya iwan ng ano, no, baka meron pang itatanong pagdating sa Industry 4.0. So wala naman. Yan. So mukhang mabilis tayong matatapos, ha? So I usually have my lecture ng mga ano, ng mga 5 hours. So ngayon mga 4.5 na lang. Okay, ready ba ang tanghalian natin? Okay, so yan. So Industry 4.0, mechanization. Okay, Industry 2.0, mass production. Okay, automation pagdating sa Industry 3.0. So what's the difference between the 3 and the 0? It's actually the cyber physical, okay, the cyber physical system of internet of things. Okay, so yan. Iba pala. Kasi sa 3.0, ano lang yan, na-create yung mga computers, yung mga electronics. Now, paano gagamitin in advance yung product ng Industry 3.0? Yan ay nasa Industry 4.0 na. Okay? So, moving on. Ngayon, this is the question. How did those IRs affected the educational system? Okay, so I mentioned already for the Industry 1, 2, and 3 kung paano naapektuhan ang educational system natin. So how about the Industry 4.0? How will it affect our educational system, or yes, our educational system? Any thoughts? Pwedeng manghula. Tingnan natin. Magkahanap tayo, ha, para medyo masaya naman, okay, ang ating umaga. May estudyante ba ako dito na mag-volunteer? Okay, so bigla ako nagulat, no, ma'am. A-attend kami ng ano mo, ng talk mo. Sige. Bukang nagtago yata sila kasi ayaw nila ng graded recitation. Anyone? Okay, Mr. Okay. Mr. Adriel Bruno. Nandiyan ka ba? Ayan, kasi puro pictures nyo lang ang nakikita ko. Mukhang may ibang ano. Yan. Sir Adriel, hello? Sino ang gustong mag-volunteer?
Hello?
Yes, hi. Identify po. Hindi ko makita ang name. Yes, sir.
I'm Mr. Robin Dunkile po from Sorsogon.
Ay, hello, sir, from Sorsogon.
Yeah, I think the IRs affected the educational system in terms of changing the curriculum.
Kita na ba?
So I think when IRs are developed, the educational system was affected in terms of changing the curriculum to cope with the IRs, I think.
Yes, okay. Tama yan, sir. Kailangan na nating i-change, ano? Baka meron na tayong mga say or meron na tayong mga inclusion sa curriculum ng na hindi na kailangan pala, okay, sa Education 4.0. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, mga taga Bicol talaga, mga ano yan, mga active. O sige pa, isa pa, bukod doon. Any volunteer? Babae naman. O di ba ang saya pag nakakarinig ng ibang boses? Okay? Si Miss Lynette ba nandyan? Miss Lynette Aguipo?
Yes, ma'am.
Ay, hello!
Hello, ma'am.
Lynette.
Yes, ma'am.
Ano ang sagot ni Miss Lynette?
I think IR is affecting our educational system in terms that we are trying to parang ano ba tawag dito?
Mag-supply ng estudyante, for the Industry 4.0. Tama ba, Miss Lynette?
Yes, ma'am.
Opo.
We are, in terms of our educational system, we are trying to achieve that.
Okay, so medyo malabo ang yan. Okay, thank you very much, madam. Yan.
Ay, hindi na.
Thank you, Miss Lynette. Okay, so ayan. Okay. Yan. Okay, so tama po yan, no? So nabanggit nila, sir. So I think, sabi nila, we really have to change the curriculum. We really have to change the style. We really have to look for another way on how to teach the students, okay? But the thing is, yun lang ba kailangan nating gawin? Okay, so, at what would be the anong tawag dito, objective? Bakit natin babaguhin? Okay, so, or bakit natin kailangang makasunod? Okay, so, ayan. How will IR 4.0 affect the current educational system? Actually, ang sagot dito is nararanasan na natin ngayon. It's because of the pandemic, ano? So, kung noon kasi hindi natin ini-embrace, okay, yung possibility na magkaroon tayo ng collaboration, okay, not only in the Philippines but from other countries as well. So, ginawa yan or binuksan ng pandemya yung avenue na yan. Sinabi, nako, sandali ha, medyo natutulog yata kayo. Kailangan ito, okay? But, come to think of it, okay, so, kung hindi pa nagkaroon ng ganitong klase ng sistema, aminin ninyo, ang hirap umattend ng mga ganitong klase ng lectures, ng ganitong mga klase ng seminar. Why? Kasi hindrance sa atin ang transportation. Okay? So, unang-una, pamasahe. Pangalawa ay yung time that you will spend in traveling, okay, from one place to another. So, ibig sabihin nun, anong tawag dito? The information is also limited na pumupunta sa atin. Pero ngayon hindi. Nabukas yan, it's because of this pandemic. Okay, imagine niyo, no, na pwede na palang mag-seminar. Okay, so actually nagkakaroon ako kuminsan ng seminar. Ang invitation yun pala madaling araw dito kasi umaga sa kanila. Okay, so yung mga ganun, no, at kasama po yan actually sa Education 4.0. Okay, so the question is, how is our country faring in these changing times? Tayo ba ay makakasunod? Okay, so kamusta naman ang Pilipinas? Okay, so sa dami ng ating actually mga concerns, okay, so bilang isang developing country pa lang, makakasunod ba tayo dito sa ganitong klase ng Education 4.0? That is the question. Okay, so how are the classrooms before different from the classrooms now? Okay, so kung babalikan natin, ang classroom noon ay ganito. Okay, so andyan ang mga estudyante. May nakaabot ba ng ganitong klase ng classroom? So parang nakakatakot si teacher, Okay, so yan. Ganyan ba kayo sa klase nyo? Kung ganyan kayo sa klase nyo noon before pandemic, nako, ibig sabihin mga 1919 setup pa ang classroom ninyo. Okay? Pero, nagkaroon na tayo ng ganitong klase ng classroom. Okay? Noong mga sumunod na panahon. Okay? Nakaupo pa rin. Okay? Pero, iba na. Hindi na actually masyadong masyadong nakakatakot yung ambience or yung environment, ano? At iba na naman ngayon. So, hindi ako nagsama ng picture ng classroom ngayon. Pero ganito ang klase ng classroom ngayon na magkakaharap lang tayo sa screen. Okay? So, ito rin yung 1950s, ganito ang air conditioning classroom. Pero way back 2019, ganito ang klase ng air-conditioned classroom. Ma'am, babalik pa po ba tayo sa ganitong klase? Yes. Okay, so we still believe that we can still come back with this kind of setup. However, hindi na ganyan siguro karami or kadalas, okay, yung pagkikita-kita, okay, ng mga ano. But I think and I strongly believe na kailangan pa rin ng face-to-face, okay, na pag-uusap ng mga teachers at saka ng mga estudyante. Okay, nakakamiss sila, tama? Okay. So, yan. So, 1960 portability, may blackboard, chalk, okay na sila dyan. Pero pagdating ngayon, eto na. Okay, so ganito na ang klase ng classroom or ng portability pagdating sa loob ng classroom. Ma'am, sa ibang bansa po yan sa mga advanced, okay, na countries. Actually, no. Okay, so kaya na rin natin gawin. Naggagawa na nga natin ngayon. Ang nagiging limitations lang natin kung minsan ay, of course, bukod sa mga gadgets, okay, so yung internet connectivity natin because Philippines is one of the countries na mabagal ang internet system talaga natin. Pero kaya na. Nagagawa na nga natin. Okay, so I would like you watch this short video. This is a very nice video wherein you can actually see the changes in education. Okay, so bakit natin din kailangang magbago na ngayon? Pati ng strategies, ng style. Okay, so this is the changes in education that happened. Again, the bar here is for the source or the link of the ano. Okay.
I remember the teacher talked and we listened. We had to memorize quite a lot too. A lot of time was spent giving out books and collecting them up again. We were sitting in rows and desks so we could see the board better because talk and chalk was the way.
There must be an industrial revolution in education, in which educational science and the ingenuity of educational technology combine to modernize the grossly inefficient, clumsy procedures of conventional education. Sydney L. Pressey, 1924.
These young people are studying in a new way. A computing calculator designed for use in high school classrooms has created tremendous excitement among educators.
The tool which has made this possible is the high-speed digital computer operating with electronic precision on great quantities of information.
If we think about the third industrial revolution, that was PCs and the internet, and we just about caught up with that. The fourth industrial revolution is what becomes possible from those technologies.
Industry 4.0 is the next big shift in the way that manufacturing operates. Digital know-how is going to be hugely important, and then people will need to be flexible because the world will change.
The future workplace and future societies, we're still moulding them as we go, and technology is one of the main pillars in what is shaping what the future will look like.
The pace of change is remarkable, with the introduction of these exponential technologies creating a paradigm shift to create education 4.0.
Lectures aren't fit for purpose anymore. Using textbooks and teaching in a Victorian sort of method with rows of students and listening to the teacher, taking notes, it's obsolete. We need to use our time in lessons to actually have those meaningful mentoring one-to-ones that can never be replaced. The technology gives us that time if we use it correctly.
Rather than being something that's scary, we can use technology to be something that's very liberating for people. So instead of having to go through the rigmarole of institutional learning as it's been in the past, we can actually use smart robotics, smart computers to make learning more accessible to more people and to actually tailor it to individual needs.
This whole cluster of AI technologies will make learning for students more rewarding, teaching for academics more rewarding. We want it to be a win for everybody.
We've shown already in clinical studies and trials that retention is up to 70% higher in virtual reality. That has a huge impact on learning and retention of facts.
The challenge is for universities to really develop their students' digital skills so that they can actually make use of those skills in the workplace.
It would be all too easy to say everyone must learn to code, but the truth is coding is just one digital skill.
Creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, these skills that can never be automated, that can never be replaced, are what we need to focus on.
Education 4.0 is a request to the education sector to rethink the educational paradigm. And it's an opportunity for us as this fourth industrial revolution kicks off to think about what modern education should look like.
We now live in a hyper-connected world. And now the time, more than ever, the time is for us to say, what do we want to do with that?
I remember the teacher taught.
So, narinig niyo yun? Okay, so, actually, hindi nila inaalis yung tinuturo natin sa mga estudyante. Ano yung sinabi niya? Very important po. Unahin ko muna yung nandun sa una, no? Okay, so, 1924, wala pang mga machines at wala pang ano yan. Pero, sinabi niya, sandali, there should be a change. Dapat hindi lang tayo ganito. Dapat magkakaroon ng pagbabago. Hence, nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na Industrial Revolution at sumunod ang educational system. Or, pwede rin that the educational system, okay, led dahil nag-aaral sila doon sa kung ano ang pwede pang baguhin or pwede pang i-adapt natin para ma-improve ang ating system or ang ating industry. Okay, so isipin nyo na lang yun, no, na nagtutulong silang dalawa. And then nagkaroon ng pagbabago. True enough. 1924 pa niya sinabi, nagkaroon ng pagbabago. Na-envision niya yun, nasunod yung gusto niya. Okay? Then here comes the Industry 3.0 and 4.0. Pero kung mapapansin nyo, yung nandun sa Industry 4.0, bumabalik sila dun sa basic. Ano yung pinaka-importanting tatlo? Sinasabi nila, yes, there is advancement. Pero hindi natin kailangan katakutan ang advancement. Okay? It is very important for the teacher to teach what? 3 C's. Creativity, collaboration, at saka ano yung isa? Communication. Okay? So, yan. Tatlo. Or critical thinking. Sorry. So, yung tatlo na yan. Itinuturo na natin yan noon pa. Hindi ba? So that is actually our goal in actually teaching the students, okay, in order for us to create graduates or students na merong critical thinking, magaling sa collaboration, as well as creative sila. Okay, itong 3 C's na to. Okay, so making sense so far? May tanong ba doon sa educational changes? Meron po? Any clarification para bago tayo lumipat? Okay. Ang tahimik ng aking mga estudyante. Okay, yan. So real classroom setup, nako. Lagi tayo dyan. Okay, recitation na kaagad yan, nakahugot na kaagad yung yung class card. Buti na lang, wala tayo ma'am doon. Okay, so actually, even when I give lectures face to face, okay, so merong audience participation. Yan. So, I'm encouraging you to do that now kasi much better for us to have a collaborative discussion. Okay, so this one is just for you to show ano ba ang klase ng education 1.0 natin. Learners as receptacle of knowledge. Bigay lang tayo ng bigay. Receiving, responding, and regurgitating. Okay? So yan lang. 3 R's ang ginagamit. Ano? And then we shape we mold the students, okay, the way we wanted them to think or how to think. Okay? So, ayan. So, kung anong gusto ni teacher, yun ang nagiging yung mga bata na yan. Comes education 2.0, hindi na pwede. Hindi na pwede na ang mga estudyante or ang mga workers natin kung ano ang tinuro, yun lang. No. Nagkaroon na sila ng sarili nilang pag-iisip. Nagkaroon na rin sila ng sarili nilang initiative in order for them to communicate. Okay? As well as in the education 3.0. Learners become connectors, creators, and constructivists. Hence, meron tayong tinatawag na mga strategies of, in teaching natin na pedagogy rather, na constructivism at iba pa, experiential, okay? And the design thinking that was discussed by my colleagues or my co-star training few weeks back, okay? So yeah. So how will this change directly affect your classroom? Okay, so hindi pwedeng hindi kayo sasagot dito. Okay, so I need at least 2 volunteers. Okay, so ito ay classroom na classroom setup natin ngayon ha. Yung klase na ng turo nyo. Okay, so how will this change directly affect your teaching? Hindi na yung classroom. Okay, so tingnan nga natin. Okay, so any volunteer? And how do you cope on these changes? Dahil nawala ang view ko sa inyo.
Hello, ma'am, may I volunteer?
Yes, sure, sir. Kindly introduce yourself, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm Jake Christy Marquez, ma'am, from Protection National Trade School, Pagadian City Division, ma'am.
Wow, okay.
Ma'am, these changes will really affect my classroom since the fourth industrial revolution focuses on developing technological improvement for improving pedagogical styles for teaching and content development or content improvement. So as for me, ma'am, this will really help in delivering or facilitating learning content to my students virtually.
Mama.
And then how will I cope with these changes? Of course, since I'm a public school teacher, as of today, it's really impossible for us to deliver virtual communication because of the lack of funds. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. We are conducting self-learning modalities in delivering our lessons to our students. So this will really give us stress because our system cannot adapt with the changes by the other neighboring countries with this fourth industrial revolution, ma'am.
Tama. Okay, so that's one stressor. Thank you very much, sir. I've been to Pagadian. Napakaganda ng lugar nyo. Okay, so tama yan, no? Nai-stress tayo. Okay, so paano tayo makaka-cope with this changes? Yun nga lang, gamit pa lang, wala na. Okay, so mamaya, sasagutin natin yan. Meron kasing sagot dyan sa ating mga agam-agam. Okay, so another one, another volunteer. Yes? Okay, meron tayong galing sa Mindanao. Baka merong may gustong galing sa Visayas. Meron ba? Meron na akong Luzon kanina South Luzon, yun sa Sorsogon. Itayo ang bandera ng mga taga-Visayas. Sino ang taga-Visayas dyan? Meron ba? Volunteer? Wala na? Come on, para masagot natin ang inyong mga agam-agam. Yan. Okay, so, sige, move on na tayo. Kailangan daw nag-move on. Pero ma'am, binabalik mo ang past. Isn't it nice to actually understand kung saan pala nanggagaling ang ating educational system? Ano? Okay, so sige, tingnan na natin. Ano? So, so now, ito, I would like to introduce this video to you. This is from India. Okay, so kindly listen, okay, on their concept or ano talaga ang maitutulong sa kanila nitong project na ito. So, kasi ito na yung agam-agam natin. Ano yung pinaka-agam-agam niya? Admitin nyo man sa hindi, nung napanood nyo kanina yung Education 4.0, sabi nyo, nako, baka wala nang maging teacher. Baka puro internet na lang. Okay? Baka ang agam-agam natin ay paano na yan kasi hindi ako masyadong marunong dyan. O kaya baka sabihin na puro virtual na lang ang pagtuturo, paano naman ako? Okay? So, this clip will show you how they actually use the technology, okay, without sacrificing or hindi nila aalisin yung pinaka-importanting role ng teacher. Okay, see, this one is an innovative start, okay, dito sa isang school sa India.
All right, now after robot waiters, Bengaluru, Silicon City of India, has now got robot teachers. That is right, as the country celebrates Teachers' Day today. A school in India's IT capital has introduced the very first robot teacher in the country. Beyond Nishtita Virendra gets you more.
A robot that teaches lessons with visual imagery, asks questions, and also responds to doubts. This is the scene at the Indus International School in Bengaluru, which has introduced the first robot teaching assistants in India. The 3 robots on campus teach 5 subjects to almost 300 students in classes 7th, 8th, and 9th. But the question is, why robots? The school feels the use of artificial intelligence is necessary to overcome the deficiencies of the existing, outdated academic system that is only content-driven.
In this new age that we are moving in, education of the heart and the mind is as important, if not more, than education of the head. And therefore, for the teacher to focus on the education of the heart and mind of the child, her workload had to be taken away. And this has been facilitated by the robots that come in to assist the teacher, to partner the teacher, as an example of what I would call as a man-machine team.
A 7-inch robot teacher is dressed like a human, but they do not replace real teachers. Instead, they assist them in teaching lessons.
The whole idea of having this robot there is to actually take care of a lot of things that I would be doing on a repetitive basis, right? So the class, delivering the lesson in the class, over the years, you end up sounding the same. This actually gives you the freedom to change your focus, you know, to look at those 25 in the class and say, you know what, I'm going to ensure that each one of them has no misconceptions when they leave the class.
The students are allowed time to write the lessons being delivered by the robot and also are allowed to ask questions. The robot responds by either using the programmed lesson or the internet. Locally developed by an in-house team, the robot has undergone test runs for almost 8 months before being put to use.
I feel that it's quite a good idea with this robot because it helps the teacher have more time to clarify doubts with the student and to help them.
I think the robot really helps with a lot of learning styles of people because every student has a different learning style. So for me, for example, I'm a really visual learner. It's like the animations, graphic designs help more than what the teacher draws on the board.
The robot will require constant updation and will progressively be made to look more human-like.
They will have silicone skin and they will look more human. They will be able to move around. Emotions is another aspect that we are planning to add. They will respond to questions specifically looking at students. So these are some of the new features that we are planning to bring into the robots.
Artificial intelligence is making its way into all aspects of human lives. And now India has its first robot teaching assistant. While the school still feels that this robot cannot replace teachers or humans in education, but it sure offers a peek into what education in the future might look like. In Bengaluru with...
Okay. So, tama. Okay, so kung makikita nyo, no? So, ang ganda nung sinabi sa yung lalaki kanina, yung sa education nila, leader nila. Sabi na, we keep on teaching concepts. Okay, so paulit-ulit na lang tayo ng konsepto na ito. Pero we sometimes forget the heart. We sometimes forget the emotional being of the students. Kasi para tayo yung nagre-replace nun sa robot. Yung mga teachers yung nagre-replace nun sa robot kasi tayo yung sabi ng sabi, okay, ng information ito. Eh ma'am kasi meron sila niyan. Okay, so ganito na nga yan. Okay, so we are not saying, or I am not saying na makukuha natin kaagad yun. But try to explore. Bilang nandito na tayo sa ganitong klase ng sitwasyon. Hindi lang kasi robot ang sagot dyan, ano? So, Ngayon kasi, nagkaroon tayo ng sistema na katulad nito. Meron silang access sa internet. Doon muna ako sa may mga access sa internet. No? Pag-clinic nila dyan, what is matter? Lahat dyan lalabas ng konsepto ng matter. Okay? So lahat na yan. Hindi na ano yan, no? So simula sa pinakasimpleng example ng meaning ng matter hanggang sa pinaka-complex na meaning ng matter ay makikita na nila at mababasa nila. So what's the difference between teaching them this concept again and again? Why not divert or use the concept that they already know? Okay, so sa pagtuturo ngayon, ikaw ngayon, ang iti-trigger mo na is their critical thinking or higher level kind of thinking. Not only the content. Kung titingnan natin ng ganito, ang pagbabagong ito, and we are not competing with this technology, this vast information available for the students, we may actually use them for our benefit. Hindi na natin kailangan pa na yun nga lang, kailangan mas advanced ka at kailangan nagpapasa ka rin. Pero iba na yung ito-target mo. It's more on asking the students why, how, and how will this make sense, then yun na ang focus ng ating pagtuturo. Now, going to those areas na meron tayong problema sa connectivity, aren't we, now using the module type of teaching? Okay, so meron na tayo nun, no? So, ilalagay lang natin doon. Ilalagay natin doon yung information. Then, tayo, as human, kasi yung module is fixed at, sorry ha, kasi ngayon ay medyo tayo ay what do you call that? Na madali tayo sa paggawa ng module. But I understand you know how to make that there are modules or originally, ang module kasi ay ginagawa to replace, the teacher sana, na yung physical presence ng teacher. Kaya may mga modules or originally ang modules ay nakikipag-usap. Binabasa ng bata yung module pero ang way or manner niya ay nakikipag-usap siya dun sa nagbabasa. It's a self-paced module. Tapos sasagutan niya yon. Okay, so I was able to develop way back then. I think that was 9 years or 15 years ago ng ganong klase ng module. Nakikipag-usap na yung module, tapos may sasagutan na yung bata, and then pag mali yung bata dun sa sagot niya, meron siyang checker or nandun na yung sagot sa pinakadulo, checkan niya. Pagka mali yung mga sagot niya, magbabasa ulit siya, babalikan niya. So that will actually teach the students as well to be responsible, to be honest, okay? So kaya nung nangyayari ngayon, nung binabalikan ko, so sabi ko, bakit kaya hindi natuloy noon yung module? Dapat pala doon tayo nag-concentrate. Kasi noon, ang ginagawa ng module ay yung klase ng module na nakikipag-usap, yung remote learning talaga. So, siguro sa ibang sa ibang...
May I ask?
Yes po.
This is in regards with the promotion of the fourth industrial method because it's very conflicting. DepEd kasi for science and mathematics is promoting indigenization and localization, which promotes the use of indigenous materials in the community, much more than using technological advancements or laboratory equipments. So how will we balance the use of indigenization and localization and the use of fourth industrial technology in the delivery of our lessons?
Okay, thank you very much for that, sir. Okay, so that is a good question na hinihintay ko kanina pa. Okay, so paano nga tayo? Just like what I'm saying, nandito tayo sa sitwasyon na ito. So, paano tayo makakapunta or makakasunod sa 4.0 na education? It's actually the skills. Yung skills ang ihahanda natin sa mga bata. Okay? So, yung skills na kung paano sila ma'am, wala nga po kaming computer. It is the computer or sabi nga kanina, yung data or yung computation, it's just a portion of the skills the students should learn. At matututunan nila yun sa basic education, how they think, how to critically think, how to become innovative, okay, how to become creative. Now, when it comes to using of indigenous materials, understand that. Okay, sir, kasi dun papasok innovation. Okay? When you say education 4.0, hindi ibig sabihin na i-embrace natin yung product nila, no? So what can we do with our own product? Okay, merging or marrying this education 4.0. Okay, just like in other countries or even here in our countries, we have actually students, okay, DOST inventions that they used our indigenous materials, okay, creating a kind of product in which will be sold or will be used by the market, okay, in this kind of industry. So, the skills, yung skills ang ano natin, ang kailangan nating ituro sa kanila. Paano sila mag-iisip, paano sila magiging creative, at paano sila magiging futuristic. Kasi pagdating ng araw, if they will become scholars, no? Kasi matatalino ang galing sa, lalo na yung mga nanggagaling sa mga provinces, if they will have a chance to go here in Manila, or if they will have a chance, okay, to go to other countries, how will they fare? Kasi matututunan ng technology, just like you, just like us. Pag in-introduce sa atin ng iPhone, we don't know how to use iPhone in the first time that we use that. However, using it ng paulit-ulit dahil tayo ay nag-iisip, dahil ganito to, analyze natin, then we were able to adapt with that. Okay, I do hope I answered that, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
But the sad reality is,
yes.
I'm one of the representatives of Pagadian for the division of Pagadian City for the robotics. But I do not but since our community or our division office does not have the capability to provide us the robotic materials, it's very sad that we could not catch up with the other neighboring ASEAN countries and other school division office, which provides them with technological advancement like the software for the robotic technology. So that is one of the saddest way to think that most of the public secondary school teachers cannot cope up with the fourth industrial revolution, which we are discussing today because of the lack of, let's be honest, lack of resources. But you have answered the question that we have, even though we do not have the necessary fundings, we should pursue the in other aspect the skills for the fourth industrial revolution.
Opo. Okay. Actually, I'm expecting those kinds of comments or questions, okay, on this seminar. Kasi sabi ko nga, ang hirap magturo ng ganito or ang hirap mag-lecture ng ganito na alam na naman natin what is the situation right now. This is because we are thinking of what we lack. We actually tend to forget, okay, how can we contribute on this kind, or how can we teach our students para maging strong sila? Kasi darating sa kanila yan eh. So, pag dumating sa kanila yan, ready ba sila? Okay, so that is our role as teacher. Even us here in Manila, not all schools, especially the public schools as well, we do not have those kinds of anong tawag dito, mga gadgets or advanced gadgets. However, there are some students that you will be amazed na pag sila ay binigyan ng ganitong klaseng opportunity, they can easily do it. Kasi, or nakakasunod sila, kasi nga, na-prepare sila nila teacher. Maraming ganyan, no? Maraming mga true-to-life stories ng mga ganyan, no? And, siguro, no, kasi we are not here to address that, the problem, that the problem is already malaki, no? So, focus tayo sa education. How can my students, ito na kasi, hindi na natin maaalis eh, parang ganun, So, hindi natin siya maalis. So, how can I help my students somehow, okay, to actually adapt with education 4.0? Okay, so, ayan, maraming salamat. I like that question. Okay, so, okay, so now, there is note number 1. We are now living in IR 4.0. Okay, the way we live, work, learn, and even play has changed. Okay, as well as the competency needed in our new cyber-physical era. This evolution needs new way of education, including in higher education and of course in primary, okay, or in basic education. So kailangan na rin natin. Ayun, ang ano natin, no, note natin dyan. Okay, so yan. So, changing the way we teach. Ito yun, ito yung sagot. Okay, so, yeah. Time and space where learning occurred are changing due to the changing new disruptive technology. That's why we have to change the students the way students learn and we teach. Kung mapapansin ninyo itong pandemic na ito, there are a lot of lessons. Kung titingnan nyo na lessons ang mga nangyayari, no? So there are a lot of lessons. Ganito ang mag-i-experience ng estudyante natin when they actually leave the four walls of our classrooms. Ibang-iba ang sitwasyon. Okay? Are they ready? Tayo ba ay naging ready? Hindi naman natin naisip noon na matututo ako mag-Zoom. Kayo, teachers, hindi niyo naisip yan na matututo ako mag-Kahoot. Hindi niyo naisip na matututo ako mag-Mentimeter or whatever. Pero andito tayo ngayon. We are adapting. Now, para hindi sila mahirapan, let's introduce na the Education 4.0 to them. Okay? Little by little. Skills munang i-target natin. Okay, so yeah. So sabi dito, Education 4.0, this is all about the content. The content is already there. Nandyan na. Ma'am, paano po yung mga nasa ibang lugar na wala naman talaga ibang internet access? Okay, so yun lang. Those are special cases. Okay, so those are cases na talaga na. Pero, however, ito naman yung sasabihin ko. The knowledge or the content is readily available to the teachers. So the teachers now, the teacher's role now is to cascade this content or this information to your students. It's your responsibility na. Pag hindi pa rin ninyo alam yan at pag hindi nyo pa rin inaral yan and you have the access, okay, ay medyo na tayo dyan. Medyo tayo na may problema kung yung luma pa rin yung gagamitin natin. Meron na tayong access niyan kaso yung estudyante ko wala. Then what is my role as a teacher? Okay? To cascade this or to give this information, this vast information to my students. Kayo na ngayon yung magiging way on how to reach these students na walang connectivity or walang way, okay, to communicate with other Okay, so ayan. And tama yung sinabi ni Sir, no? So aside from that, let them use what they have. Okay, so parang tayo din. Let us learn how to use what we have and innovate and create something out of what we have. Okay? So saka na lang natin ilalagay yung iba pang component. Okay? So ito. These are the top 10 skills. So I got this from Future of Jobs Report, World Economic Forum. Okay, so sa dami ng natin, nabanggit na rin ito kanina, na kaya bumabagal din naman yung usad ng Industrial Revolution 4.0. It's because of the other countries na hindi kaagad nakakasunod. It's because of course, lack of materials or lack of things. Okay? So however, ito pa rin ang top 10 skills na kailangan ipoproduce natin sa mga estudyante. Okay? So in 2020 na lang. Okay? So, kailangan ang mga estudyante natin, kasi kung ang student natin ay 5 years old ngayon, o kaya mga nasa elementary sila, so most likely sila yung magbe-benefit nito ng mga skills na dapat ituturo natin or i-develop natin sa kanila rather. Bakit? Kasi after 25 years, sila na yan So, we really don't know what's in the future, no? Pero ito yung mga skills, okay, na makakatulong sa kanila to adapt in that future, okay? So, to cope with that future. Complex problem solving. Ma'am, matagal na yan. Yes. Okay? So, pero noon, mind you, na nakalagay lang dyan, problem solving. Simple lang ang pinapasolve natin sa kanila. Ngayon, we really have to teach our students to actually solve complex problem solving. Eto na naman tayo, ma'am. Yung simpleng 2 plus 2 nga lang po, hindi nila makuha. It's because we are teaching them the content. It's not the skill. Okay? So, or sometimes, naro-rote memory na ano yun? yung the way na tinuturo natin sa kanila yung content, yun yung medyo may nami-miss tayo. Okay? Medyo mahabang usapan yan. Sana yan. Critical thinking. Are they critical? Okay? Or are they shallow? Sometimes, pag may nagtanong sa atin na estudyante, and that the question is very out of the world, we tend to shut them. But little that we know that they are critical thinker. Okay? So, creativity. People management kasama. Ma'am, bakit kasama ang people management? Akala ba natin magkakaroon na ng mga cyber, na lang, no? Mga robots? No. They need the skills in dealing with people, coordinating with others. Ma'am, computer na nga lang po eh. Actually, itong pakikipag-Zoom natin or pakikipag-communicate natin sa bawat isa via Zoom or via Google Meet, it takes a lot of skills. If you are not, skilled in coordinating, collaborating with other people, you will find it very, stressful. Kasi hindi develop yung skills mo na ganon. So, kailangan ang mga estudyante natin, ma-develop natin sila that even though we are talking online or we are communicating via email, kailangan meron pa rin silang coordination with other people. Okay? So, yeah. Emotional intelligence, very important. We should not forget that. Judgment and decision-making. Service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive flexibility. So these are the top 10 skills that we have to develop to our students. Ma'am, paano? Actually, these are old. Tama? Medyo na-enhance lang ng konti yan. Nabago lang yung ating mga top 10. Okay? So, ma'am, bakit nawala na dyan yung innovative? Nasa creativity siya. Pero kasi, yung innovation ngayon ay ang dami na kasing pwedeng gumawa ng innovation. Mai-innovate pa ba tayo? Okay? So, gano'n, no? Sobrang advanced na. Okay? So, kaya medyo lumaglag na ng konti yung pagiging innovative. But rather, they chose creativity. What or how are you going to use, in more creative way, or in a new way, kung ano ang meron na. Kaya hindi na dyan nakatop 10 ang innovative. Question so far? None? Okay, so, yan. Okay, so this is the same lang naman din, no? So, complex problem solving. Okay, so, that. Okay, so, I'm going to introduce to you the disruptive technology. Okay, so actually, disruptive technology, noon pa ito. Hindi lang masyadong familiar sa atin ang word na disruptive technology. Okay, so, what is disruptive? Sorry. Okay, so what is disruptive technology? Ang disruptive technology, ibig sabihin nun ay this is a new introduction or new way that disrupt the habit that we have. Okay, hindi ko na isama yung PowerPoint, siguro na save. It disrupt the habit that we have. Okay, so kaya ang tawag sa kanya ay disruptive technology. Okay? So for example, we are now in competency-based education. Okay? Ma'am, noon pa po yan. Yes, okay? So it disrupted the memory-based education. Kasi competency-based na tayo. Kaya tinawag siyang disruptive technology. Ngayon, since competency-based education na tayo, we are looking at the competency, not the content na lang. Because the content is present anywhere. Sa totoo lang, aminin yun man natin sa hindi, when we actually want to know about something, we just click the internet and look for the answer. Okay? So, gone are the days na yung memory, kailangan i-memorize mo lahat kasi nasa library lang yung information na yan. Pag nakalimutan ko yan, wala na. Okay? Hindi ko na alam. Kaya binago natin. Instead of the content, aside from the content, because content is readily available, we are now more on the competency-based. Ma'am, anong pinagkaiba ng outcomes-based? Actually, they are not the same, but they are together. Okay? Outcomes-based na ang hinihingi natin. Tama ba ako? Okay? So, ano yung kayang gawin? Ano yung competence ng estudyante? Not what they know, but how they make use of what they know. Okay? So, that is disruptive technology when it comes to education. Another is the Internet of Things. Okay? So, naging disruptive technology ito or nabago nito yung pagtuturo natin. Okay, even libraries actually use internet already. We don't go to the library where books are located or where we read hardbound books. Meron na tayong ibang klase ng library tools. Even the lecturers, the tutors at iba pa. Augmented reality, okay, so this is one disruptive technology as well as the artificial intelligence. The last two, hindi pa natin yan masyadong feel dito sa Pilipinas or even in some other countries, yung virtual reality, yung paggamit niyan sa education na nabago talaga ang kanilang system as well as the artificial intelligence. Okay? So, yan. So, given that, mahingal ako doon. Okay. So given that, Education 4.0 must be able to produce, ito na, highly creative graduates with the ability to think critically. Ma'am, noon pa ganyan na. Exactly. Noon pa ganyan na. But why? Oh, why? Okay? We should rethink of that. We should rethink of how we teach. Do we really hit this objective? Okay, so if not yet, then we must. Kasi Education 4.0 na ang pinag-uusapan natin. Okay, so ayan. So this is just a summary of what I actually discussed a while ago. Education 4.0 is the future of learning will be dramatically different in school and throughout life, where 1.0 lectures and memorization, 2 is internet-enabled. Enabled pa lang yan ha, learning, knowledge-producing education, and then ngayon ay innovative producing education. Okay. With that, we have 9 trends that stand out in Education 4.0 na akala natin ay hindi pa natin ginagawa. Sa totoo, this was prepared, some of portion of my report or my lecture was prepared way back 2019 kasi itinuturo ko na nga ito. Mas iba yung reaction nila noon, no? Kasi wala pa yung mga ganitong online. So imaginein mo na lang yung reaction ng mga tao sa pag-i-introduce ko ng 4.0. Mas hindi pa nila tanggap or accepted. Ngayon kasi medyo natatanggap na natin, no? So, but these are the 9 trends, okay, na mag-i-stand out sa Education 4.0. Diverse time and place, okay? Maikwento ko lang. Nagkukwentuhan kami ng mga friends, okay? So, ano problema ng mga estudyante mo? Sabi ko, walang internet connection eh. O kaya nasa probinsya, ganito, ganyan. Wala pang bili ng load. Of course, we are in the state university, no? So, my Konyo friend said, nagtuturo siya sa isang school, okay? Private school ng mayayaman. Sabi niya, alam niyo ba ang problema ko kakaiba na medyo hindi ko alam kung paano sasagutin kasi hindi pwedeng masagot. Ano 'yon? Yung estudyante ko nasa US, okay? So nung tinanong ko kung anong problema niya, "Ma'am, it's 2 a.m. here in the it's 2 a.m. in the morning and we have lecture. How will I solve that?" Okay? So diverse time and place. So ibig sabihin nun, learning, hindi na lang tayo mag-7 to 5 or 8 to 5, but learning is actually diverse. Iba't ibang oras na. Katulad na nasabi ko nga sa inyo kung minsan merong lecture ako ng madaling araw, as well as place. We really have to adapt with this. Okay? So, ma'am, paano? Okay, so let's look at it positively na kung ako ay night worker, so ibig sabihin kaya ko pala na matuto pa rin, makapag-aral pa rin. Okay? Kaya tayo merong mga asynchronous learning. Project-based. Okay, no, ayan, exam will change completely. Actually, hanggang ngayon, issue pa rin. I will not deal with that, no? So, how are we going to give exams, ma'am? Okay, so yan. Ang laking problema niyan. Okay, actually, ganito po yan. Yung exams na yan kasi, dapat tayo, what do you call that? We evaluate or assess our students not on the content na, it's on the skills. Okay, so competence, on the competence na. Okay, so pero medyo challenge pa sa atin yan. Personalized learning, kung kailan ko gustong mag-aral, okay, so nandyan na available. Field experience, ma'am, ano po yung field experience? Mas madali kasi ngayong, well, except for this pandemic, pero mas madali na kasi ngayong mag-field work or mag-travel or pumunta sa iba't ibang lugar. Not given this situation, yung normal lang natin. So, field experience, student-owned, ownership, yes, our students have their own ownership in their work, free choice, data interpretation, and mentoring is become important. It's mentoring. It's not more on teacher-centered mentoring. Now, the question is, how can we produce highly creative graduates with the ability to think critically given this kind of situation, given this kind of resources, given that I am in the province that I do not have, my students haven't seen yet, what do you call that? Beaker. Tama ba ako? Yes. Okay, kasi may research kami ngayon na yung rural, actually that's the rural or province setup ng mga laboratories, ano? So paano nga ba? Okay, so let's actually train them, or let's teach them, or not teach but rather develop, okay? So their creativity. Okay, today's students prefer flexibility where they can feel empowered to design their own creative projects. This is according to these people. Okay, so kahit ang gamit nyo ay indigenous materials, kahit ang gamit nyo ay nandyan lang sa bahay and all, if we are going the right setup or mood setting, okay, the right question and the right project, okay, na ibibigay natin sa mga bata, okay, so they can be creative. Okay? So, yan. So, ibig sabihin po pala, ma'am, pwede naman. Teachers should design creative spaces for students where they can experiment with innovative skills through experiential and project-based learning. Sa totoo lang, ang hirap ngayon mag-laboratories. Anong ginagawa ninyo? Diba? Ma'am, hindi kami makapag-lab, hindi ako pwedeng magpabukas ng palaka sa estudyante ko sa bahay nila. Of course, that's a no-no. Ma'am, hindi ako pwedeng magpahalo ng chemicals, okay? The thing is, we forget na skills ang tinuturo natin sa bata. It's not the project itself, but it's actually the skills. So teach them the skills on how to do it and let them do it on their own using the materials that they have. For example, if it's mixture, and then teach them what is mixture all about, blah, 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 okay, ganyan. And then ask them to do their own mixture at home using materials or available materials sa kusina. And then ask them, oh, what happened? Ito, anong nangyari? Ganyan, ganyan. Then, okay, you have your instant laboratory activity coming from the home. Hindi po ba? Okay? So, ayan. Using creative students, the students can go beyond the syllabus. Ito yung gusto nating alisin, ano? Oh, sandali, baka mapagalitan ako, no? Pero actually, we should go beyond what is, ano, no? So, kaya tayo meron lang most essential learning skills. Tama po ba ako? Sorry ha, hindi ako nasa basic ed. Okay, most essential skills lang. Let's go beyond the content sana, because contents are readily available. But the students can be more innovative and creative using the skills that you will teach them or you will develop to them. I want to remove the word teach, because you will not teach that, but you will develop to the students the skills, okay, in order for them to create breakthrough projects. Okay, so meron tayong estudyante, he's a normal student, student lang na high school. So anong ginawa niya? I forgot the Yung sa cellphone, yung pag-charge. Okay, so using available materials lang doon sa doon sa bahay niya. Okay, so inano na yon. Para I don't know if it's patented already by the the DOST. But he's just a simple student lang. Okay, so creative. Okay, so these are the practices that we usually use in the classroom, focusing on independent thinking and exploration. Classroom, but you can actually still use this time during the pandemic, during your Zoom classes or during your, what do you call that, remote teaching. Okay, encouraging idea generation. Sabi ko nga, if you will just explore, or teachers will just explore and use this pandemic on these things, okay, mas magiging maganda ang resulta. Paano? Encouraging idea generation. Way back when you are in the classroom, ang hirap niyong kunin, okay, yung idea generation, kasi kung minsan the tendency is pag nagmamadali na kayo, you tend to spoon feed the students. Okay? So, itinuturo nyo na lang ito na itinuturo. Ngayon, ibato nyo sa kanila during the asynchronous class or in the module, isulat nyo. It's the right asking of question in order for you to generate the idea. Okay? Doon sa mga estudyante. Ma'am, paano yung promoting collaborative? Wag muna ito, no? So, collaborative practices and teamwork. But actually, in the States and in other countries, yung collaborative practices is more on parents, students, okay? Kaya lang medyo madami tayong dyan, okay? So, iwan natin. Involving children in higher level critical thinking skills, just like what I mentioned a while ago, rewarding creative ideas, leveraging technology, okay? Sa totoo lang, mas magaling sila sa atin. O ako lang ba? Gagaling ng mga estudyante. Tolerating ambiguity and making mistakes. Ma'am, parang medyo yata yan? Medyo off yata yan. You are tolerate the ambiguity and making mistakes. Actually, letting them make mistake, but processing the mistake that they did is a learning experience. Ito yon. Normal setup ng classroom, experiment tayo. Dapat ang makukuha nila ay pink color. Tama? Halimbawa lang, pink color. Ang nangyari, white color or transparent ang nakuha ng group B. The rest, they got the pink color. Anong sinabi natin sa group B? Mali kayo. Period. Actually, it's a learning experience. Kung babalikan ninyo, ang tanong sa kanila, what did you do ba? Ano ang nangyari? Ganito, ganyan. They will learn something. Ma'am, kasi ganito, ganito, ganyan. Okay? So, yung learning experience na yon, they might actually, anong tawag dito? Makadiscover pa sila ng bago. It's because of the mistake. Most of the new products or most of the things na lumalabas ngayon, it's because of a mistake for something else. Okay. So, kumbaga parang, kahit sa pagluluto, ganun may nadidiscover na mas masarap pala ito kasi nagkamali ako ng lagay. Instead na toyo nilagay ko, suka ang nilagay, and then ito yung lumabas. It's a mistake, but it's a delicious mistake. Okay? So, same thing with that. But not the negative or not the mistakes na talaga namang yung mistake na sa pag-uugali or iba na. Okay? So, yan. So, alam nyo naman siguro yung demarcation between those mistakes. And teaching classes such as art, drama. Ito, isa pa ha. Kung minsan, sorry ha, hindi kasi ako nagti-TikTok. It's fine, okay? It's fine, walang problema. Okay, but please do not ask your student to do TikTok, okay, all of them, okay, to explain, for example, their contribution in the environment, for example, ang gusto ninyong ay, what would be, or explain how you are going to contribute in the environmental problem by using this application. Hindi na siya nagiging creative, nagiging na siya, parang kinahon nyo na at hindi nyo na pinag-isip yung mga bata kung anong gusto nila. Ma'am, ang hirap i-check. Well, that's another problem. But if you are after the creativity of the students and not the grading of the students per se, then you may actually explore that. Okay? So, hindi ko pa yan. So, ang dami kasi. Okay? So, what I'm trying to tell you is, this is not, what do you call that? Recommendation or ito talaga yung gagawin nyo. However, this can be explored kasi iba-iba tayo ng sitwasyon. In education, innovation can appear as new pedagogy theory, methodological approach, teaching technique, instructional tool, implement, produces a significant change in teaching and learning, which leads to better student understanding. Okay, so that is according to Sir Zivko in 2017. Okay. Yan. Okay, so hinga lang ako ng 2 minutes. May question bago ko lumipat na. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about the transformative. What is this transformative pedagogy? Any question or sharing on your part? Ano ang ginagawa natin ngayon? Or anything that you really wanted to talk about?
Ma'am, another query.
Yes.
In regards with the project-based learning, since project-based learning goes toward collaborations with the students, how can we assess the products or the outputs of the students, since because of this pandemic we are limited to the physical distancing that we have? So how can we assess the outputs of the students based on their project-based learning activities?
Okay, so kindly give me one example of the project-based learning activity that you give.
Like for example, community problem on the increased number of dengue cases in a certain community. How can we assess how can we assess their outputs if they are not immersed in the community itself, since we are in the pandemic?
Okay, so this pandemic is a very special situation sa ating education. So ngayon, we really have to adjust, okay? So if anong skill or ano ang gusto nating i-hit doon or anong objective ng project-based learning na yon? Meron kasi yan, di ba? Bakit yun ang binigay natin? So what would be the skill or what is the objective of that?
Siguro ma'am, the objective is to just find out the cause of the increasing number of dengue cases in a certain community, in the community where our school is located. So yun lang po yung first objective na nakikita ko for their project-based learning. But since we cannot, because of this pandemic, we cannot din natin ma-force yung student na lumabas. So how can we assess their outputs? Or what are the alternative outputs that we could make in replacement of the community immersion that the science community is thinking?
Okay, so ganito po kasi yan. So ito yung sinasabi natin, no, we are very faithful when it comes to what is written in our curriculum. Okay, so sana sorry ha. Okay, so sana mabago ng natin ng education natin. So I think kasi yan yun sa dyan, and more on the diseases yan in the community, how to prevent the diseases in the community, right? Okay, so hindi yan lang dengue per se. Most likely, ang hinahanap natin dyan is in order for the students to bear in mind that this kind of diseases will spread if this will happen, if you will not take good care of the environment, if you will not take good care of yourself. That's why there is an increase. Kasi yun ang hinahanap natin nagka-increase ba? If yes, bakit? And then, malalaman ng estudyante natin, kasi may basura, kasi ganito, kasi ganyan. Tama? Ang pinasok natin sa estudyante natin is the cause and effect. Pag ginawa ko to, ito ang mangyayari. Right? Okay, so ganyan yan. So now, given this situation, why not change dengue? Because dengue is not the number one disease, okay, or number one problem that we have. If the cause and effect is the thing that we really wanted to know, or that we really wanted to for the students to learn, okay, and not the dengue per se, why not use COVID? Why not use the other things, okay, that is present in the community that that is actually that they can understand or they can do right now. Okay? So, kung babalik or mag-i-stick tayo sa dengue, i-feed mo na ngayon yung sitwasyon. Project-based ito, pero ang gagawin mo na ngayon ay you will make now or you will give the data to their students. All data. All. Ito yon 19 ganito. Pwedeng buong Pilipinas yan eh. Tapos let them analyze the data.
Ma'am, is simulations possible? Can be a possible replacement for the activities for the project-based learning?
Of
Simulations.
course.
Okay, okay.
Yes, of course. Or if, of course, pwede yan, no? Or if you are after a project-based activity which is product-oriented, pwede ka namang magpagawa ng individual, okay, muna, kung wala silang way to communicate or to collaborate with each other. It's just more on, if you attended the design thinking or if you attended, yung prototype na tinatawag, ipo-prototype lang nila yung isang project or yung isang product, and then saka na yung actual. But it's the process that they have to take note of that, and then yun ang ipapasa sa iyo. Process ng project na ito, paano to ginawa, and this is the prototype. Pag malaki ito, saka ko nagagawin kasi malakihang project na. Something like that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, other? Nag-enjoy ako. Okay, so I do hope I'm making sense, you know. So this is based on experience and readings and of course the other information given to me during some of the trainings. Experience-wise din po. Okay, so yan. Okay, so moving on. So what's the time? I only have ilang oras pa ako, Ma'am Cynthia? Mga 3 hours pa, no? Pwede pa. Hindi. I'm just kidding. So it's 10:55, okay? So now, alam nyo naman, ma'am, sanay tayo na maghapon na training. Pwede ako noon. Okay. Baka matakot silang lahat. Okay, so let's talk about transformative pedagogy. Ma'am, is this new? This is not new. Okay, so this is actually based on the other pedagogy, the pedagogies that we already know, the constructivism and others. Okay, so transformative pedagogy, it empowers learners, okay, that's why I chose this, to engage in dialogue to co-construct. Co-construct meaning from educational materials and experiences through an inquiry-based approach. It also promotes personal experiences, dialogical pedagogy, and aligning education with social justice. If you will read a lot about transformational education as well as transformative pedagogy, they always think that transformative pedagogy is more on, sorry for the term, makibaka pedagogy, no? Yung social justice or injustice parate ang ipinaglalaban. But actually, no. It is a pedagogy, meaning it is a way how to teach, okay? It's not the content itself, but it's the way how we teach. Why this is very important, okay? So, gone are the days that we only teach students, okay, of what is inside our classroom. Hindi na natin mapipigil that they really have to. Kailangan nilang makialam, okay, sa mga bagay na nasa ibang lugar or nangyayari sa paligid. Okay? So, that's why kasama ito doon sa I look at this na kasama siya, or this transformative pedagogy will help us, okay, to what do you call that, transform our students or to make our students be more critical thinkers and creative as well as innovative. Another, transformative education is designed to enable the student to change at the human consciousness level. Hindi na lang siya yung ako, pero ano yung tayo at ano yung nasa paligid ko. The education is also designed to enable the student to change at, Transformative pedagogy encourages students to critically examine their assumption. Ano yung nasa isip ko? Ano ang sa palagay ko? Grapple with social issues and engage in social actions. This is according to Stephen Mayer. Now, ma'am, ano naman ang kinalaman yan sa e-learning or sa pagtuturo ko online. Embracing this pedagogy will help you, okay, formulate your activities. Nahihirapan kayong gumawa ng activities ngayon because you are, or most of us, is still nakakahon doon sa traditional activities or traditional teaching that we know. Okay? So using this kind of pedagogy or using transformative pedagogy wherein the student should know what is my lesson all about and how my lesson will help me in my everyday life, okay, at home, in my social media life, okay? So this will actually help us to be more creative in asking questions as well as activities of the students. Just like what Sir mentioned a while ago, no? Ang ganda ng project-based niya. Okay? Kasi may social action. He's actually using the transformative pedagogy on that part. Transformative learning theory suggests that by engaging students in learner-centered participatory and interactive experiences and require problem-solving, autonomous thinking, critical flexibility, and discourse. This is according to Mesereau in 1997. He has a lot of books. Sorry, sa mga nag-masters dyan, okay? At nag-iisip kayo ng bagong so this is not yet explored more in the Philippines, so I'm encouraging you to do the exploration of transformative learning. Okay, so along more specific lines, instructor can promote changes in attitudes, ito na tayo, beliefs by having students complete interdependent discovery learning exercise. Okay, that engage students with concepts in a way that is relevant and meaningful for the student's life. Pag nasa probinsya kayo, let them actually experience or let them be more aware on what they have. Ito kasi tayo, no? So, pag nandito tayo sa bahay or kung nandun, we take advantage of what we have. We take advantage of the environment that we have na hindi natin ni-utilize yan sa own learning natin. Kasi iniisip natin, nandyan lang yan. But actually, we can learn from that, okay, or from the environment. Oh, I'm done with my 10 last slides, okay? So, kaya lang bawat isang slide ay 1 hour. Okay, so, effective transformative pedagogy online. Kaya hindi ko nilagay po na science and math kasi you can use this in other, this is generic. Kasi pedagogy nga, kumbaga parang generic siya, you can use it in any subject, okay? So, number 1. In order for us, sorry, balikan ko muna ha. Do you know the anong tawag dito? Sorry nawala ako. Okay, so kailangan, pag kayo ay maggagawa ng lesson, lagi naman tayo may ganyan, may objective tayo, hindi po ba? Okay, so make sure that your objective is not a content objective, but a competence or skill-based objective. Alam nyo na yan, lalo na sa DepEd. Competency ang pinag-uusapan natin. Kindly check. Kasi baka ang isinusulat nyo dyan sa nyo ay what is. If it is what is, it is a content base. Okay? So, ma'am, hindi naman po maiiwasan, ma'am, yun na what is kasi basic. Tama yun, nilalagay nyo. But, you should write another, okay, one na about the application of this what is. About what is the sense of this what is. Okay, for example, what is matter? Okay, so matter is blah, blah, blah. Then what? Okay, so ngayon, ano pang gusto nyong malaman niya sa matter? Kaya kung minsan, sabi ko nga, itong content na to, pagka patuloy pa rin tayo na content ang tinuturo natin, our students will not listen to us na. Especially if they will be anong tawag dito, exposed to the internet, especially if they will be exposed to readily available content materials dyan or information. Hindi na sila makikinig kasi ay sinabi na yun ng teacher ko. Okay? So, iibahin na natin ngayon. Yan. So, iba na natin approach bukod sa content na lang. So, sa transformative pedagogy, ang aim natin dito ay meron kang babaguhin or there is a change at the end of the lesson. Not lesson. Ayokong gamitin ang lesson because lesson is a very short time or isang oras lang. At the end of the term or at the end of this quarter, in my science, ano ang naging transformation or what would be the transformative thing that will happen to my students' life knowing this matter. Okay? That will address actually the questions of your students na paulit-ulit. So what if malaman ko na 1 plus 1 na ang ano yun, yung mga cosine and sine na yan. Okay? So yan. So, effective transformative pedagogy online. Create a safe and inviting environment. Okay? So, ito ay para sa mga nag-go-online pero good din to para sa gumagawa ng module. Okay? Create a safe and inviting environment. This is not actually yung safe na from danger. When you say safe is safe from criticism. Inviting environment, ibig sabihin nun, ini-embrace mo or kinukuha mo din yung loob ng mga bata. For example, ganito yan. So, in online, hindi kasi lahat ng bata very expressive. Okay? So, you have to create we have to set mood that the student, okay, or the environment that they have in the online class is safe as well as inviting. Kumbaga parang hindi siya feeling intimidated doon. Kasi kahit mga sanayan sa gadget, pag nakarinig sila na nagsasalita dyan sa harapan, medyo iba ang dating nila. Okay? So, ma'am, paano sa module? Nahihirapan ako dyan, na i-discuss sa inyo. But there are actually modules that if the students will read the modules, they will know that this is a friendly module and I will not be intimidated with this kind. Paano? It's a matter of you writing. If it will be a copy-pasting or if you will just type it as if it has no emotion at all, then hindi nila babasahin yan. Para lang din yung libro. What's the difference between a module and a book? A module is, anong tawag dito? Mas madaling, it is more understandable and it must be talking to the reader. Okay? Kasi ang book, binabasa mo ang content, binabasa mo yung information. A module should communicate with the student. Same thing sa inyo. No? So that is one. Okay? Create a safe and inviting environment. Okay? So another, that is for transformative. Ma'am, why? Making them feel that they are safe or making them feel, for example, they are reading the module, that they are not intimidated with this, it will open the mind and the heart of the students to actually embrace or to learn something from it. If not, kahit na anong galing ninyong magturo dyan, kahit na anong haba ng video na prepare nyo at ganda ng mga gadgets na nilagay nyo, if the students, okay, will not feel safe at all or invited at all, sayang. Even in the modules, kahit 100 pages yan. Ma'am, may matututo ba sa 2 pages module? 2 pages lang po kasi ang allotted. Yes. The right way to communicate to the students, if it is just matter, then ano nyo dyan, 2 pages lang with activities at the back, kayang-kaya yan. Okay? So another. Encourage students to think about the experiences, beliefs, and biases. Kasama yan sa transformative pedagogy. Experiences. Okay, ma'am, mahirap po yan sa math. Okay, I understand that, especially pag operation ang pinag-uusapan natin. Okay, so let's go beyond na doon sa teaching of content, ha. For example, na ituro nyo na yung content. Then, let them make it sense to them in their own experience. Okay, so, ano ngayon? Meron yan eh. I understand meron yan. Mamaya ha, baka may math teacher, pakiano nga sa amin, bigyan nyo kami ng experiences na, ano tawag dito, personal experiences na ko yung high, mga concepts sa math, okay? Beliefs. Okay, so in transformative pedagogy, sinasabi natin that belief and biases should not be marked na mali kaagad. Katulad ng, if your students will express something negative, for example, in a certain topic, for example, ayoko ng political. Okay, so basta may ganun, may bias siya na kinokontra niya, do not right away, So, tingnan mo, bakit ganun ang pag-iisip niya? Okay, so you will learn something from it. But, if it is totally, okay, against, for example, morally against talaga and all, you should not say no, or you should not, kumbaga parang, mali yan. No. You should know how to divert it. Let him or her think, okay, of his bias, and it's up to him or her pagka nabigay mo na ang lahat ng mga information if the thinking is still the same. Okay, so ayan, beliefs. Ito yung beliefs na yan, lalo na yung sa mga don't make fun of, ma'am, sabi po ng mama ko ganito ganyan. Sa science, sorry. Sa science ko minsan, ma'am, sabi po ng lola ko, bawal daw po magwalis sa sa gabi. Okay? So, anong sagot nyo dyan? Sasabihin nyo, kasi malas daw po, ma'am. Ano sasabihin nyo? Hindi totoo yan. Wala nagsabi ang science ganyan. Actually, there's a science behind. Okay. Bakit bawal magwalis sa gabi? Kasi baka, alam mo yun, baka masweep mo yung ibang yung ibang mga important things, tapos madala mo sa basura kasi malabo na or madilim na. Oo nga naman, malas nga. Yung ganun ba na diversion? Pero mo yung science behind the belief kung meron, So kung kayang-kaya naman. That will make them feel safe as well. Okay? Isa pa pala, if you will encourage them to think about this, they will be more creative. You are actually encouraging them to create, to be more creative as well as critical thinker. Okay, so with that, use teaching strategies that promote student participation and engagement. Ito na po tayo, ma'am. Paano pag online? Ang hirap-hirap. Hindi ko alam kung na-experience nyo na, kaya lang dito sa bahay may mga pamangkin ako, ang grade 3. Pero yung ba naman sabay-sabay nagsasalita yung mga grade 3. Ma'am, magsi-CR ako. O kaya yung iba pinag-uusapan nila ay mga laro nila. And sa atin, as audience, it's kind of funny. Pero sa teacher, Diyos ko, naiisip ko, kawawa naman si teacher, no? However, it's more on the sa teaching, nyo na, what do you call that? Management. Meron din classroom management, online classroom management. Meron yan, basa kayo, okay? So, when we said participation and engagement, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to recite from time to time. But let's talk about engagement. How engaged are them? Some of the students, or some of them, they are just quiet, but they are doing something. As long as they are engaged and they are listening to you, then you are actually doing good. Okay, so sorry for that. Okay, this one. Okay, you can use this to as well to promote engagement. How to gamify your classroom. Okay, so yeah. Kahoot, sa competition and all. Ma'am, paano po yan sa modular? Okay, so medyo challenging na po yan. Okay, yun nga sinabi ko na if you will be able to make your module way na parang nakikipag-usap siya, pwede kang maglagay ngayon ng activities doon that can challenge the students' thinking. Okay, so ganyan. Okay, another, this is second to the last, okay, post real-world problems that addresses inequality. In transformative pedagogy, okay, so across subject areas, okay, so this is the thing that we fail to include, okay, the real-world problems. The tendency for our students is to forget the content that we teach because we do not teach them, or we do not show them what would be this content that they are learning address or answer if they will know it. Okay, so yun yung medyo nakakalimutan natin. Ano naman ngayon kung mapag-aralan ko to sa chemistry? Ano naman ngayon kung mag-aralan ko to sa physics? Okay? So, yung mga pilosopong tanong ng mga bata na hindi natin sinasagot because we take offense on it. Okay, we tend to be offended on it. But actually that is a sound or that is a valid question. Ano naman ngayon kung maaralan ko yung physics? Will that solve the hunger of the Philippines or the world? Well, yes. Okay, so paano? Ngayon, dun ka na ngayon papasok. Okay, so paano? Or pwede nating gawing baliktad. Pose the real world problems and then let them address it using, okay, what they learn from the class. And you will be amazed, okay, so kung paano gagamitin ito ng mga estudyante. Okay, or kung paano sasagutin ng estudyante ang ganitong klaseng mga problema. Kung minsan, of course, it's impossible. Sasabihin natin that is actually hindi ito ang tama. Pero kung titingnan mo i-micro level yan, na in a single, pag ginawa niya ito, for example, sasabihin niya itong pollution na to, ay ma'am, yung pong balat ng candy ko, hindi ko na itatapon sa ano. Sabihin lang natin na iisa lang siya, pero if it will kakalat and lahat pala sila ay ganun mag-isip, then that will actually solve the real world problem. Or if it cannot be addressed, lead them to a wishful thinking. Baka pagdating ng araw, sila naman talaga ang maging presidente ng Pilipinas, you'll never know. Okay, then what do you think you will do just in case? Kasi kung minsan may scenario building na regardless of the money, regardless kung minsan bibigyan mo magandang activity to, don't mind the money. Don't mind the time. Don't mind this. But what will you do given a chance to address this? And you will be amazed on the student's answer. And with that, okay, so paano yan? Matitrigger na ang kanilang creative mind and creative thinking. Tatandaan nyo, hindi yung totoong pag-solve sa real-world problems ang ina-address natin dito, but rather the development of their critical thinking as well as creativity. Okay? So, yan. Transformative pedagogy not only focuses on developing students' understanding of alternative perspective and experiences, but it also expands their awareness of how societal forces impact people. Okay? So, yan ang kailangan natin. Baka makalimutan na natin kasi sa online, kaka-e-learning natin, hindi na reality yung maibigay natin sa mga bata. Still reality pa rin ang ibigay natin na example sa kanila. Okay? Okay, so encourage action-oriented solution. Ito na banggit na to kanina ni Sir na medyo na advanced na. No? Yung project-based learning o kaya yung action-oriented, dapat meron silang sinusolve na problema. Okay, so maigi nga yan kung sa simula pa lang alam na nila. Okay, so what would be the problem that we may solve or we may take action. Okay, so upon after learning this kind of topic. Okay, so same with the modular. Medyo nagsishift ako, dapat e-learning lang, no? Kaya lang dapat pala more on remote learning. Okay? So, yeah. Ma'am, nagawa ko na po yung module ko. Well, this is for the future, for your future reference na, dapat pala ganito. It's not on the kapal ng module or pages ng module. It's on the quality of what is in your module. Kahit nga content sentence lang yan, if you will hit the right or the right yung tamang pagtatanong, it will trigger the mind of the students. Now, as for if you will ask me how to, what do you call that? How to assess. Okay? So, wag na muna natin problemahin yon. Okay? So, kahit kami kasi, kumbaga parang, paano sila pag nag-exam? Paano po namin malaman kung may learning? Ganito kasi yan. Basta iisipin nyo muna, did I make a quality? Ito muna yung aim natin. So, susunod na yung how effective this is. Kasi, ang dami nating magigikitang problema. Naka-cloud na tayo ng problema instead of doing simple things that may help our students. Little by little. Isa-isa lang yan. this is what I am really proud of with in the university that I am into. We have the transition. Imagine that we are already in the diba, National Teacher for Education, ganyan. Pero kami namin, let's take it one at a time. Okay, hindi natin pwedeng gumawa tayo nito. Paano natin i-assess? Meron kaming evaluation, however, nandun sa stage ng, sige, aaralin natin. Pero, the thing is, you have to make a sound or a good quality material, learning if ever the evaluation of this will happen next. And then saka tayo magbabago. That's innovative. That is innovation. Yun yung experience na maganda. Yun yung gusto ko i-share sa inyo. Don't be clouded medyo tayo, paano ko magpapa-exam? Paano ko magkaganyan? Paano ko malalaman kung natuto si ganyan? Unti-unti, muna, baka skills muna. Hindi naman tayo hinihingan kaagad ng maka-perfect ng exam yan. And then, pag bumalik na tayo sa normal or nakagawa na kayo ng materials na okay, so I can do this and I can do that. So that's it. Okay, so isa lang ang natin ay, okay, so ganyan. Okay, so ito lang yung aking last slide. We define learning as transformative process of taking in information that when internalized and mixed with what we have experienced, changes what we know and builds on what we can do. It's based on input, process, and reflection, kasama ang reflection, and it is what changes us. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. Okay, so it's 11:20, so I have 30 minutes or less than to entertain some of the questions.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Leah, for that very comprehensive, insightful, and interactive lecture. So, although we have some questions addressed earlier already, maybe you have questions. Just unmute your microphone, or you can just type it in the chat box if you would want to express your comments, questions, anything. So, alam kong game na game si Ma'am Leah for questions.
Yes, yung makakaya ko lang. Pero pag sa budget na at saka sa gadget na, wala na akong masasagot dyan.
You know what? During your talk kanina, I felt like I was inside a classroom na halos magtago na ako sa teacher ko. Baka bigla akong tawagin. So that was good. Parang it's in another naman, parang tinitingnan ko parang live na live yata yung kanina. It was very interactive kasi parang andyan lang. It's not like online, parang face to face ang treatment, ang approach kanina.
Okay, so just to share kasi meron ding baka magawa to ng mga natin, mga participants natin pag nagbi-video ako, it's like nakikipag-usap ako. I even ask questions. Yes, nagpo-post ako ng gano'n. Parang yung I give them time to answer pero hindi ko sila maririnig mag-answer kasi it's pre-recorded. Yung gano'n na yung ganoon na klase ng video, that is a good type of kind of video na parang nakikipag-usap ka pa rin.
Parang andyan lang.
Yeah.
No, it's not parang hindi siya malayong-malayo. Parang it's just like attending personal face-to-face ang approach. So, questions. So, meron yata mga nasa chat box. Let me see. Comprehensive, informative, mga thanking you, Ma'am Leah, for your presentation. Meron pa ba? Or nasagot na pa kanina? Or nag-iisip na naman kayo sa very talagang comprehensive na Are you thinking about Education 4.0? How are you going to adapt that in your teaching now? Are you thinking of Transformative Pedagogy? Oh, are you thinking of eLearning? Ang daming daming aspects na sama-sama.
Oo, kasi Ma'am kasi kumbaga parang there are a lot of strategies now in e-learning. However, the pedagogy or what really this is all about. And kaya sabi ko, okay, so let's talk about Education 4.0. Baka hindi nila alam, nag-Education 4.0 na sila. Okay, so, kaya-kaya.
Mukhang na sila. Mukhang satisfied. Okay, so there's one question here from Markson Mejia.
Yes po.
There, some researchers and articles conclude e-learning affects the students' physical and mental health. What could be the response to address this concern, Ma'am Leia?
Actually, so there are researches po talaga na kaya hindi tayo nagpo-full online. If it's a private school, so meron na kami dyan na in-advise, no? There are some private school that the students are engaged into online learning. Sunod-sunod, parang ginawa pa rin nilang normal changing of teachers na every hour nagtuturo si teacher, no? So that will burn out the students. Tayo nga lang, kumbaga parang tapos depende pa sa klase ng ipinapagawa nating activity. So it is much better for us. Kaya tayo ay laging blended learning. So it should not be online learning, but it should be blended. Okay? Kaya meron tayong mga synchronous and asynchronous way of teaching. And ito pa po pala, no? For those who are using books, I'm not promoting any book or whatever, medyo makakatulong ang merong book ang bata sa bahay. Okay, in a way, how are you going to use that? Gamitin nyo yan or gumawa kayo ng guide questions. Guide questions on ano ang babasahin nila doon at ano ang sasagutin nila. So that will actually lessen the students kasi kung daldal ka din ng daldal, then nandun na sa libro or nasa then guide questions na lang and let them answer it. Okay, so less contact. Mga lang daw po mga 2 hours ang according to researches sa mga bata for online learning.
For online, yes. Yeah. Correct. Okay, so just thanking you on apply na raw niya yung turo nyo nung nagturo kayo noon sa Tagaytay.
Yes. It's my pleasure. When I give talk, it's always sa inyo. Nagpapasalamat ako sa DOST Star for having me here as well as sa mga participants kasi nai-share ko what I have. That is actually my goal to share what I have kasi hindi ko uuwi yan. Hindi ko maiibaon sa aking mga halaman. So kaya parang pag hindi ko nai-share parang gano'n parang sayang naman. Okay? So, for a change, for the society as well. So, thank you very much. I do hope you learned something. Yes.
What is the role of from Robin Donquillo? What is the role of transformative pedagogy in Education 4.0? Do you mean that through this pedagogy, we can equip our learners the aforementioned skills for 2020? Didn't we use this pedagogy already?
Okay, so ito yung natin dyan. Education 4.0 is not only for 2020, 2021 hanggang 2025. Wag po natin masyadong madaliin. Education 4.0 will last, okay? Pwede kasing century yan or pwede kasing more than 20 years. Okay, so it's little by little. When you say transformative pedagogy, this is well-known or this is a used pedagogy wherein ang pedagogy na to ay naka-anchor siya doon sa thinking na dapat we are thinking of the end. We are thinking of the change that we wanted to happen in the future so that we are preparing for the future. Hence, if you want to adapt, okay, if you really wanted to makasunod, okay, doon sa changing environment natin, especially sa Education 4.0, unti-untiin na natin. Let's start with the skills using the transformative pedagogy. And then later on, the use of technology, the advanced technology will happen when the technology is already there. Para lang yan cellphone natin. Noon late tayo sa cellphone. Wala tayong cellphone. Pero little by little, we were thought of on how to use the computer, on how to use the cellphone. Nung dumating sa atin ng cellphone at nabigay sa atin yung pagkakataon, then ready na kaagad tayo to use it and we became more innovative kesa dun sa iba pa na dating may gamit na. Isa pa po pala, let's think of our future students or graduates rather. I-ready natin kasi sila doon sa technology-based na or critical thinking environment na kasi nga iba na rin ang mga trabaho pagdating ng araw. Basic muna tayo, skills muna. Pag naano na natin yan, bahala na sila doon sa tertiary level, bahala na sila doon, ibato natin sa kanila yan. I believe that in education, there should be a clear a clear role of each department. DepEd, you are honing, you are actually training our students to think this, and then dun sa secondary, so ito na medyo ina-apply natin. Tertiary, dapat buo na sila eh. Kaya tayo dito sa basic education ang pinaka-importante. It's the skills. Kaya gano'n. Yun po, sorry. Okay.
So, thank you. There's just one, it's not a question, so I don't know if I have to read this. It's quite long. It's just a thought daw. Does not agree with using science to explain superstitions because it may not really make the student help to understand the superstition. But it explain the superstition based on its historical value since wala naman talagang science behind this. Although science is everywhere, there are some ideas that cannot be fully explained by science. Still, thank you po. This is an insightful talk.
Yes, okay. So, thank you very much for that. Yes, pagka cultural ng pinag-uusapan natin, there is actually merong mga magko-contradict. I'm not saying that we should but we should, okay? So, even there are explanations na may mga ganyan. Kasi it's more on sometimes we tend na it violates the cultural context of something if we explain it in science. But if you will look at it, I'm praising actually the people, yung mga lumang tao, kasi even though without knowing the science behind it, they did it. Okay, so ginawa nila to without knowing the science behind it, but it makes sense. Okay? So, kaya ganun. Depende sa klase ha, ng sa superstition. That is just I will not argue you with that. Okay, tama po yun. Okay, so there is a clear demarcation when it comes to cultural, okay, and we should respect that. Okay, so po.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Cortez. I think there are no more questions coming in. And it's almost lunchtime. So we have to break. And at this point, we would like to thank our very competent resource person, Dr. Leia Amor Cortez, that talk about Education 4.0. So, kung pwede lang kami magpalakpak lahat dito. So, let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So there, just continue to check our FB page, Star Science Teacher Academy for the regions for announcements regarding our future webinars. So once again, maraming salamat and have a safe and productive day to all of us. Bye.